Greetings. I am Tom Earl. Welcome to the celebration. We know you could be anywhere. So the fact that you are here today, sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy, it means the world to me. I hope you know that in this moment, you are valued, you are loved, and you are appreciated just as you are. Let's just wave and go right off. Whew, how are you feeling?
I am feeling, tired, exhilarated.
Yes.
This has been a marathon, but in a good way.
Yes, it's definitely pushed me and like everything that I've been thinking and to talk about differently. And so I guess creative, like we've been creating.
Yeah.
So I wrote down notes of where you were asking about marketing and that kind of stuff to continue from last week. And we can also just put that all to the side. Is there something else that you wanted to jump into, or should we start there?
I would love to start there. Although I do want to, just throw into this, whether I don't know if it ties in or not, but I was really listening to your invitation at the end of the last episode, and I could not agree more that like my greatest discoveries have come through pain, have come through challenge. So what is interesting is I do feel like I am now approaching these kind of business questions. I'm definitely approaching them from a very, very different place than I used to. July 2023 really marks almost precisely the end of what has been easily one of the most challenging years of my life. And really like almost to 2 weeks from today in 2022, like really all hell broke loose in our lives with our first child experiencing suddenly a very significant illness that we had to navigate and deal with. And then as things tend to happen in threes, there were two other really significantly challenging experiences in starting in mid 2022 to now. And yet I do feel more at peace than I've ever been. And that is something that I've thought a lot about, like how much of it is this denial? But I actually think I am taking it as movement on the journey of acceptance. And so I say all that because I used to ask these questions, Tom, these kind of business marketing questions. I used to ask them from a place of like, I got to fix this and I got to figure out the answer. And then when the answer is figured out, then life will all be good. And I want to invite us all, and maybe this will be my invitation just really early in the episode, that we can explore these questions more from a place of silence and listening. And yeah, that's all.
I love that. I recognize within myself, I do not have the part of the story arc that gives any hint of good times to come. I don't have it in me right now. Mm-hmm. So I notice when I talk to people, like I was talking to a family member and was like, just kind of articulating how hard the things I'm going through. And it's like, they just wanted me so badly to say, and while I'm going through more challenges, I'm also some sort of positive, more myself than ever, realizing more things or appreciating the journey more than ever. And I'm like more in this state, this place of like in a hurricane, lightning around me, telling God, come down here and fight me. Like that's more where I'm at. Like, I'm like, yes, I'm with you on the silence, and you have to find silence because life will find you and it will throw any illusion of control that you had into the wind.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll wait till everything's perfect. Finally, you got all your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and then boom. And if it's not, then there is a high likelihood that we are in conformity land and we are following all the rules and not rocking the boat so as to keep everything in place. But when you do that, that itself becomes the thing that messes with you, because then you find safety is unknown, but the unknown is where life happens. So like it'll find you because that's life's job.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't have a cheerful message. And yet I find that, like, I guess, see, this is me maybe being like, but you got to give people something. I was listening to a song the other day. I don't remember which one, but it was like, had a joyful element to it, but it was the kind of joy, only comes from people who get pain. So, I mean, if you do kick it with me, I do laugh quite a bit. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I guess for me, you said, you don't have a happy message, or I forget exactly how you just said it, but I think for me though, it truly helps me just to be reminded that the storms don't stop coming. They don't just come for me. They come for Tom too. They come for everybody, right? Like, and that, I think, my experience, that is my problem with what I perceive a lot of marketing to be, right? One of the things that I have said over and over again to my team is I refuse to sell, quote unquote, come follow us because this will fix it all for you. Like, I will not do that. And I believe that is what, I think it's part of what has given, quote unquote, marketing made it a bad word, is that selling and convincing with pretty answers, happy endings. And the storm is actually what's real. So I guess it feels to me like just trying to build spaces where you're not alone in the storm.
Where we can weather it together.
I guess that would be the...
It just felt like the poetic thing to say.
That would be that would be the tidy way of saying it, right? But do you know what I mean? Like when you say I don't have a tidy, like I don't have an uplifting story, I think it's gotten too much to the place where that's what we're looking for. I genuinely, for me, what I feel about the way that I feel at the end of this year is I just feel, oh, like I look back to earlier years, right? Of battering. And I'm like, yeah, this is a different Miata at the end of this year of battering than an earlier year of battering. Not that I feel like, and therefore now all battering shall be fine, right? No, just, yeah, okay. Like, okay, this is different. This is different, this experience. And that excites me, maybe is the right word, because it's like, yeah, it's like I'm being given I'll use God for me. It's like I'm being given a little affirmation around the shifts in what I thought this journey was, right? Versus the way I see it now.
And is that, I don't know how to ask a open-ended question other than what do you think is the, in sharing that, is the, like, is it like that it has gives you a feeling of, and that's made it worth it? Is, or am I like, I feel like I'm feeling like something like that in the conclusion. Am I hearing that wrong?
It's so interesting, right? Because I'm like, I don't think it's that it makes it worth it per se. Like, you know, I look at the big, big pains in my life. I lost my sister when we were in our early 20s, my daughter's illness, all of these things. And I would never say I wouldn't take the opposite. Like, sure, I would take still having a sister today, right? And I would take my daughter not having been struck with epilepsy. Like, I would take any of those things. So I guess I don't feel that it's worth it as much as it is the reality. And so I think that I see myself as being on a journey of acceptance of and not fighting against the reality, and just feeling the teeniest hints of, yes, that is an easier road to walk, right? So I guess I don't feel battered. Like, man, I have taken, like, I feel like I am still in the ring and I'm still standing, right? And that feels like progress.
I decided also last August, I feel like this is when this all started, that I appreciate gratitude. I appreciate laughter. And at the same time, I have accumulated a significant number of coping tools from personal development that are coping tools. And I can use positive thinking and positive talking and gratitude practices and discipline and routine and working out and eating right and da 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 and da da da. Like, I can do all those things and then I'll be a high performer and I will be able to accomplish my goals and be a role model and move through things. And what am I running from? Why have I accumulated all of these tools? Why? What is it that's underneath all these things? Why do I need them? And the more I am like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to I'm going to lay in this bed and I am going to feel what you've been saying without judgment and totally accept that this is what I feel. And in doing that, it's sometimes brings up like decades worth of buried feelings, and it can feel like riding a storm. And I don't know where it's going, but there's just waves of grief that are just in there that I've been positive thinking around
for a really long time.
So I don't know where this is going, but I know that it has to be gone through, because it's like when you're talking about like accepting reality, it's like, well, if I was to accept that this is how I feel, like, how do I feel? Not adding to it, being like adding more story that fuels it, but just like I've been describing it as like letting the guitar string ring till it's full, till it's done ringing, right? If my emotions are a string and they have been plucked, I've been like putting my hands on it, but like, not right now. Those feelings will stop me from getting out of bed and doing my to-do list, where it's like, you know what? Let's just say, screw the to-do list. The to-do list is to accept and let these feelings feel. I don't know where it's going. So that's why I have no like, and it's led me to here. I don't know where it's leading to, but it's feels like this thing that has to be done if I'm really going to live the motto of being myself. And I have found that in a lot of areas of my life, I'm no longer doing things because I need to, like my music, for example, my art. I used to always do it with this like undertone of, because I'll finally create the song that gets the inside out, right? These sounds I have in my head, I'll finally be able to communicate them. And then I will feel this, and then this will happen. And now it's more like I have sounds in my head and I'm going to get them out through a process that doesn't have any sort of like need or ache or must or illusion, that it's going to create some sort of result that'll finally lead to my salvation, if you will.
Yes.
That there's nothing I can do that is going to create that is only something I can access by fully stepping into who I am. And right now, fully stepping into who I am is like finally allowing myself to feel things that I have been probably suppressing for decades.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. This could be the rest of my life, is just doing this. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where any of this is leading, and it might not be leading anywhere. It might just be it. That might just be it. So hence the vagueness.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like what you said about there is nothing to do but to be in it and move through it, if right. In other words, like and by moving through it, I don't even mean there to imply a goal, just to be in it moment by moment by moment. And that is then where we continue to see whatever it is that is next. And I do feel it's the fighting of it, whatever it is, that can keep us trapped forever. I think this is an analogy that will make sense. In my dad's side of the family is all from Nigeria. So I'm the first generation in this country. And in my dad's Igbo culture, when someone dies, for a very long period of time, particularly the women in the village will just start the day with wailing, just outside, prostrate on the ground, sometimes just whatever, just wailing and in that emotion of grief and loss. And when my sister died, she was the first grandchild of my grandmother's. And so we weren't there, but my understanding is that for like 60 days, the day began with this sort of in the compound wailing. Whereas my experience in the United States, I was a senior in college, and my sister died, and it became, yes, there was funeral and all of that, but it became sort of all out massive action. How do we make sure Miata graduates, right? Like just she's got to finish. And then what came next right after graduation and that first job, and then my move to Los Angeles, and then the next job. And a part of what I've always said is that I actually feel that the devastating grief lasted for years because of our cultural training to kind of just let it out in these teeny, what I call drips and drabs, right? And so all of this is just to say that I believe there is such value in being in whatever is so. And yes, privilege will always play a role in one's ability to truly be in something. For many, there are just things that will continue to have to happen. But I still think that we can still bring just a willingness to be exactly where we are in that storm. Yeah, there's something that comes from that doesn't come from fighting it.
Ooh. I thought you were going to give like the riptide analogy or something like that. That was a very personal example. So I appreciate you honoring us all with that, Miata. Well, as we move into wrapping up, how are you? Anything we can do before we close out for the final time?
No, I'm great. This has been a lot. You asked me how I wanted to feel at the end of this, and this is interesting. I'm definitely tired, deeply, deeply tired, but also so grateful. So yeah.
One of my jobs involved getting to almost 3-4 times a week get to hear Holocaust survivors share their story. One of the people who shared their story was also a psychologist, so it was very interesting to hear him share his story in a very self-reflective way. And he talked about how getting to share his story was cathartic and healing, and at the same time, without fail, he always had to take a nap after sharing his story.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't know what it is, but there is also something about the catharsis that takes a lot of energy. So, not comparing what we just did to sharing stories of being a Holocaust survivor, but I do think this vulnerability word it takes the kind of courage and showing up that it's a different mixture of feelings than if we were to say surface level and, pleasant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
So I thank you for going on this journey that these 4 episodes have been. I couldn't have done this without anyone but you. This was a moment that only I could have created by collaborating with you. So I appreciate that.
Me too.
Where would you like to point people to if they want to continue the journey with you?
I would point everybody to abundancebound.com, very specifically our financial empowerment program, because that is where we are creating a community. And also at Abundance Bound on all the social media platforms, but especially Instagram.
For me, it's at Tom Earl Artist, or if you want to be a part of a community where we talk about these kind of things and journal through it, and we have tools and processes for that and have access to our private podcast. That's tomearl.me/DCM invite. Would you like me to start with the invitation, or would you like to start?
Oh, I don't have another invitation. I definitely don't. I feel like
they don't have to be deep. Could be something to watch, something to listen to, something to taste.
Well,
a rabbit hole.
we are. I'm super. It's so fun having a 15-year-old boy. I have to tell you, because there are things that I just would never like. I just wouldn't. They wouldn't come to my attention. And so my 15-year-old son has really gotten into basketball in high school. And I have never been a basketball person, but now I'm so enjoying watching. Like, we watch the playoffs all together, and the energy of the game has been incredible. But so he has us now watching a series called Winning Time. And again, I'm not like a basketball. I don't have a lot of knowledge, but the like rise of Magic Johnson, and I am really enjoying the performances and the way that this story is being told. So yeah, Winning Time.
I love that. I think Apple came out with a Magic Johnson documentary as well. Yes, They Call Me Magic. So if you haven't checked that out, Miata, it's super powerful too if you want to go down a Magic Johnson rabbit hole.
I really will. I will now, because now I'm like, wow, I'm fascinated by this person.
To be honest, I had no idea that Magic Johnson had AIDS. I had no idea.
Yes.
So like Adora was like, how did you not know this? So that blew that whole story arc of his life, just, and talk about, good God, like someone who had a mission and then was thrust upon a different one. And you talk about the tapestry of life being bigger than our understanding. Oh, that was a wonderful invitation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not done yet. I have 2 episodes left of season 1. But yes, watching it with that knowledge, and also just who he has been in the Black community, and yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it.
That's awesome. All right. Be sure to check out Miata's Abundance Bound. And of course, though, if you don't mind me saying, if you are a casting agent or a director, there is no better actor out there than Miata. Would you co-sign that? Do you also want me to reach out for that kind of stuff too?
We started with me as a legend, and now ending with there is no better actor. But thank you for that.
For the role that you are destined for
the
or
role that I'm destined for.
the roles, there is no one greater. And so that just might be you casting agents out there or whoever makes the decisions. I don't know how that works.
That is really, really, I love that. And I love that you ended there also, because I mean, we could do another whole series. But I definitely feel like a part of all of this work, for me, has really been approaching my acting and my work on the craft from such a different place than I used to. Like I used to approach it so with like end in mind. And the freedom now of just doing the work and just working on the work has given me an enormous amount of joy. And so, yeah, I feel like I'm watching acting in a different way and I'm acting in a different way. That's been neat too.
I love that. Well, you inspired my invitation when you were sharing earlier. I'm going to add two. I'm going to give y'all two. One, if you know Miata, there's even some people I know who know Miata, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I wanted you to ask Miata that you didn't ask. And I feel the same. I have so many more questions left. And yet, you know, I find, especially trying to like catch up with people that you haven't talked to before the pandemic, I found it's almost impossible to like, okay, chronologically catch me up. And so like have as many unscripted, unplanned conversations with people. Like just see what comes up without an agenda. And I don't know, some magical stuff can come up. And my invitation you inspired me out was the finding that place, like even if in society, with friends, with family, in your job, if to survive you have to wear masks, if you have to have the armor on, that you start finding 10-15 minutes here and there to just feel yourself without any masks, without any bracing, without any anticipating what if it all falls apart. Just like let yourself feel this feeling of what it feels like to let the masks go. And that final mask where it's like, but if I let this one go, it might all fall apart. Just for 15 minutes, let it all fall apart. And I find that usually has to be somewhere you're alone. So maybe it's in your car, maybe it's on a hike, maybe it's in bed, maybe it's in the shower, maybe it's in your garage. Just find a little place where no one can see you and you can take off that final mask that feels like it's all going to fall apart. Just let it fall apart for 10 minutes and start seeing more and more if you can bring that let it all fall apart energy to more and more of your relationships and see what happens. Miata, holy smokes, this has been awesome. I appreciate you.
Oh, I so appreciate you, Tom. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure. As always, thank you for listening. We're wishing you peace and blessings. One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.